Hello YouTube, Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, and Durga the Cat. And welcome to the YouTube channel of yours truly, Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch. So I have a question for all of you in YouTube land. Do you journal? Do you have a journaling practice? Have you allowed your journaling practice to lapse? Let me know in the comments. But recently, I have recently I had the idea of doing a video about my journaling practice. And I wanted to share with you some of the journals that I have. So first, I'm going to go out of frame again. That seems to be the trend for today. And get my glasses. I know you were busy looking cute, Durga. That's why you didn't bring them to me. So this is the... not this one. So, what? I didn't do anything to you. I'm not paying attention to you, and yet I'm removing fluff from your fur, so I am paying attention to you, just not the way you want. So, I'm going to have Drake do a close-up of this. So, this is the notebook that I'm currently using for my spreads for the day. And I'm actually pretty close to the end. So, what I've been doing with this particular journal, or notebook if you prefer, is I have been working with decks that either I haven't worked with in a while, or decks that I'm a little too much in my head about. So, in other words, my brain is like, how do I work with this deck? So, what I've been doing, what's going on, Durga? Durga, behave. Durga's not behaving. You know what that means. But anyway, so I actually created a spread that I used once during the recent Moon, Serpent, and Bone 6th annual Ostara night market. And but it's the spread that I use that covers all the bases for me. It's a 5-card spread. And so what I do is, you know, in the morning or in the afternoon, depending upon how my day flows, I will list the day of the week, the date, the time, and then I'll list what the waxing or waning lunar phase is. For example, what I did for yesterday, waxing moon in Cancer, and then I go from there. So, and this flap is where I keep the steno pad where I wrote that particular spread. So that's the first one. Now, how many times have you seen a gratitude journal in a bookstore or on a website? How many times have you seen a forgiveness journal on in a bookstore or on a website? I haven't found any. Have you? Forgiveness has become more important to me, and I cannot tell you how many times I have lost count of how many times my spirits say to me, remember to forgive. Remember to forgive. And the fact of the matter is that So I've stated online and off on numerous occasions that I refuse to allow anything or anyone to cause me to ever experience hate. And I will tell you that there are people on planet Earth that have brought me very close to allowing hate to consume my heart and soul. I'm not going to get into who they are because I don't want to say their names, but let me just say that anybody who causes harm to a specific group of people, those are the ones that are causing me to have to fight against allowing hate to consume my heart and soul. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to create my own forgiveness journal. And I will actually tell you how I've structured this particular forgiveness journal. So I want to make sure that I don't... So for example, Friday, March 22nd, 2024 at approximately 1:41 p.m. I now surrender and release all anger, resentment, bitterness, and unforgiveness toward myself, here and now, now and always. When I used to lead prosperity classes, I would always teach the participants that when it comes to forgiveness work, always begin with yourself. And I practiced that. And then I wrote 3 things. So, number 2, by the powers of the gods, I now forgive the staff of this hotel for anything they do not know or understand. The service I received in this hotel was lackluster at best, and that's putting it mildly. Now, because of the fact that there are people that are racists, I have been more on guard for myself to refrain from allowing even ever so slight microaggressions of racism and bigotry consume me. So, since the staff of this hotel were primarily people from India, for my own peace of mind, I wrote, by the powers of the gods, I now surrender and release any and all unforgiveness I may harbor against anyone of Indian descent or born in India. And then I wrote, so mote it be. And this has been how I've been doing it. I always begin with forgiving myself. I then forgive something or someone that caused my day to be challenging or unpleasant or negative in some way. And then I will do something else. For example, for Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024, 10:53 a.m., I began with, here and now, I surrender and release any and all anger, resentment, bitterness, and unforgiveness I have towards myself, as well as all the rancor, rage, and hardship I have been harboring against myself. And then I concluded with, I now forgive all the individuals who hexed me and mine. That is how I've been working with this forgiveness journal. And yes, I do have a gratitude journal. This was a gift from somebody who has availed herself of my psychic services on numerous occasions. She's given me love offerings. She has recommended me to certain individuals for certain professional opportunities. It is through this individual, in fact, that I met and connected with Amy, the living goddess of the moon, serpent, and bone markets. And I recently began a new gratitude journal practice. So, for example, this one, Sunday, April 14th, 2024 at 8:16 a.m. I wrote first, I am most thankful to have so much money at my disposal. And then I wrote, I am most thankful to be alive and healthy, and indeed I am. And then I wrote, I am most thankful for all the lovely people I met this past weekend, specifically yesterday, Saturday, April 13th, 2024, at the Books and Bloom event. Books in Bloom, rather. So that is my gratitude journal, and it is certainly not my first gratitude journal, and it certainly will not be my last. I have a personal journal. This is one of those journals that has one of those bands you put around the book. The band kind of died, and I decided I'm going to cut it off because there's no point in continuing to use it because it just flops all over the place. This particular journal I began on Wednesday, December 3rd, 2014. And I don't write in it every day, but I write in it as often as possible. This is the journal that saved my life and saved my sanity in early to mid 2019. So, and after that time period, specifically from Thursday, February 28th, until Monday, June 21st or 22nd, 2019, which was the date of the full moon in Capricorn. I have maintained a regular, or at the very least a semi-regular, journal writing practice. So this is my personal journal. This journal became my channeling journal. I've often talked about, and I even did a video about one of my favorite people on planet Earth, the Michelle Swan Graham, whose YouTube channel is Swan of Dreamers. And she offered a channeling class, which was fantastic. It was phenomenal. I loved it. I learned so much. And that particular channeling class that Michelle led, this became my official channeling journal after that class. Actually, as of that class, this became my official channeling journal. So whenever I engage in channeling as well as automatic writing, this is the journal that I use. And it was interesting what I wrote, and I'm actually going to have Drake do a few close-ups of the pages. So I noticed that when I first began channeling after the meditation completed in the class, in the channeling class that Michelle led, I began drawing these figure 8 symbols. And I was doing this back and forth, and I found it fascinating and very unusual. I was like, why am I doing that? But I felt that it was an exercise from the spirits and from my spirit guides to get me into that channeling headspace, if you will. And then I wrote, where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? Where do you need to be? Where do you feel yourself, where do you feel you need to do? Or where do you feel you need to be? What do you need to see? What do you need to know? Ask yourself these questions often. And then I did more of these figure 8 symbols, and I did even more of them here. And then I started writing about a certain situation that I had been dealing with a few months earlier, and then I began writing more. Some of what I channeled and automatically wrote was prophetic. Some of it has come to pass, some of it has yet to come to pass. But it was fascinating to me, like, this was the first channeling experience that I'd had of its kind. I cannot tell you how many times over the last 20 or so years, actually over the last 30 or so years, people have told me that I channel a lot in my readings. And sure enough, it's happened recently as well, where somebody even said to me, you channel in your readings, don't you? And I said, yes, I do. Which is why I tell people, record anything of the reading we're doing, because I will forget. And if I'm offering readings at a public venue, I will forget at least 90% of everything that I say to that client almost immediately after the reading concludes. If it's a private reading, then I will forget at least 90% approximately an hour after that reading ends. But if it's a public venue like a Moon Serpent and Bone Night Market, I will forget almost everything that I said to that client or what was said through me almost immediately after that reading ends. Like even before the next person sits down at my table, I will forget. And then I have this journal. I want to tell you, this is a journal that, and I'm going to have Drake do a close-up, because every time I find a journal that has like beautiful pages and beautiful art on the cover, I wish that it was also on the inside. So this journal looks beautiful on the outside, and I put these on them. I purchased a kit of like these kinds of things, and I put them on the front. So these are the pages in this journal, and I love this journal. I love the designs on the page. Look at the cute little kitty. I just love the designs on this journal. I love the different colors that are available. I love the stickers that I put on the inside and the stickers that I put over here. Cats and moons, so you know. I love the little thing that closes it, has a magnetic clasp. This is my inner child journal. When I want to reconnect with that beautiful little boy inside of me, this is the journal that I use. And of course, I specifically chose it because there's a cat resting on a crescent moon. I'm like, I've got to have this journal. I must have this journal. As a little cat starts playing with a big paper bag, actually. So those are the journals that comprise my primary journal practice. Now, do I use these journals every day? No. I know it's important for me to pull cards every day. I'm currently working with the Akashic Tarot, which was co-created by Sharon Ann Klinger and Sandra Ann Taylor, and I love this deck. It's a very non-traditional tarot deck in that it has 62 cards. It has no knights and no pages. It only has kings and queens. The cards are renamed. The suits of the minor arcana are renamed, and it only has aces through eights, or ones through eights to be more accurate. So because I hadn't used a Sandra Ann Taylor deck in a while, I really wanted to dive deep into using and working with this particular tarot deck, because it is a very non-traditional tarot deck. It is not Rider-Waite-Smith oriented. The imagery is not Rider-Waite-Smith. The names of the major arcana do not necessarily correspond to traditional counterparts in a traditional, like, let's say, Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck. So, and because Sandra Ann Taylor specializes in oracle card decks, this tarot deck reads more like an oracle card deck, meaning that it is more designed and structured like an oracle card deck. But it is a tarot deck. It is a tarot deck in all intents and purposes. But it is definitely not your standard tarot deck. Be very clear about that. So those are the journals that I use. These are the journals that make a huge difference for me. The journals that I use most often are these four. The notebook that I'm currently using to pull cards for the day, my forgiveness journal, my gratitude journal, and my personal journal. These are the journals that I use the most. My channeling journal notebook and my inner child journal, I use them when I'm guided and led. I don't use them all the time, but they're definitely necessary for me anyway. But these are the ones that are constants in my journaling practice. There's like a bazillion websites, and there are YouTube channels, and there are so many different kinds of journal websites and journals you can buy in bookstores. So I'm not even going to cover or even begin to talk about those things. But the one thing that I'm going to say about making the most of your journal writing practice, especially if you have never had a journal writing practice and you're now being guided and led to create one or begin one, as well as if you are slowly but surely coming back to engaging in a journaling practice. Create a habit if possible. You don't have to journal every day. You don't have to journal pages and pages. You know, your journal writing practice could be one sentence once a week. And if you start out that way, that's beautiful. The thing, and of course, I'm very old school when it comes to journaling. I do my journaling with physical books, with physical notebooks. I have never done, no, that's not true. I once had a live journal page. I ignored it for the most part because I could not wrap my mind around maintaining a digital virtual journal. And I think live journal is still around. I don't know. And I'm sure that there are online journals. I don't know. I haven't looked. And who knows? I may begin an online journal writing practice after this. Who knows? But definitely, with regards to journal writing practice, to a journal writing practice for you, look at what works best for you. You may feel that it's most important for you right now to have a gratitude journal, or you may feel like you need to do a forgiveness workbook, or you may feel like you're ignoring a deck that you've owned for at least 2 years, and it's like, when are you going to start working with it? So whatever is true for you in the moment, those are the ones to work with. It may be that you're not necessarily ready for a certain journal writing practice. You may be ready for another one. And definitely get a notebook or a journal that is pleasing to you and that makes the most sense for you. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be like, okay, well, everything okay, Drake? Mm-hmm. Okay, just check it, because we had a look on your face. But yeah, so I absolutely recommend that you absolutely be authentic with yourself about what kind of a journal writing practice you feel is most appropriate at this time. And if it's not appropriate at this time, then don't engage in a journal writing practice. It's that simple. As always, I am most thankful to all of you in YouTube land for honoring who I am and what I do, for all the likes, for all the comments, for all the shares, and for all the subscriptions to my YouTube channel. And of course, an extra big and beautiful thank you to those of you who have already scheduled your sessions. I have less availability this month. I have a lot more availability in May and some availability in June of 2024, but you know what to do. Until then, stay in tune with your intuition, stay safe, stay well, stay hydrated, and stay tuned for the next video.